Meet me. Welcome back, boys, to another Squirrely Guide video, and today we're going to talk about the new advent, Enraged Blazy Emissary. So as always, my guides are broken down into topics. So topic number 1, we're going to talk about what you should buy from the shop. Topic number 2, we're going to go over each of the Hell mode phases and how to auto it. And honestly, this is the most important part of the guide. And topic number 3 will be how to clear Epic Hell. This is less important. If you can't do Epic Hell, don't stress. It's not that important. I'll explain why later. And then topic number 4, we'll just do a quick summary and then we'll wrap this up. Now again, I'm going to use very specific heroes in this comp. I like the one-shot route. If you really can't build any of the teams I mentioned here, then feel free to go watch some other videos. There's a lot of possible combinations to beat this boss. And to keep this guide short, I'm not going to go over every single ability of the boss because, you know, they all have like 1,000 abilities nowadays. 99% of them don't matter if you build the right team, so I'm not going to spend too much time describing them. I'm going to try to keep this guide as quick and concise as possible. Let's get started. Alright, first of all, let's go over what to get to the shop, because I don't want you guys to be stressed if you can't clear Epic Hell, because it really doesn't matter. Like, let's just show what you miss out on. So, the reason for doing Epic Hell is it's the way to get Infernal Origins, but actually if you can just do Hell mode, you can buy 10 Infernal Origins, and that's all you need to max out the Dark Connection summons, and the last one you get by just clearing it 60 times. So basically you'll be able to get your free Dark Summon without even being able to do Epic Hell mode. In terms of mod gems, you'll notice that a lot of these, like Unity set, Revenge set, Health set, Destruction set, a lot of these things are not used in PvP anyway, so it doesn't really matter if you miss out on them. It's not a huge deal. So if you can't do Epic Hell at all, don't stress, just farm Hell mode. Being able to auto Hell mode easily is a lot more important, and you can just forego the rest of these kind of semi-useless mod gems. So don't stress about it if you can't do Epic Hell. In terms of priority, just buy everything that you can afford. You're probably going to be able to do it anyway if you autoed Hell 60 times to get that last Dark Connection. I've pretty much cleared out the shop already, but if for some reason you're short on resources, obviously just don't buy the useless ones like Unity set and Revenge set unless you're building those sets for some reason, and you're going to have no trouble clearing out the shop if you're doing it. Let's move on. Alright, so let's talk about autoing Hell mode, because that's a lot more important to farm. So this is my Epic Hell team, and we'll cover that in the Epic Hell section, but basically the gist is this. So generally, if you bring heroes of the same element for Phase 1, you get more health, Phase 2, you get more speed, Phase 3, you get more attack. Now, this isn't important at all for one-shot teams. You can basically just ignore it, except for the third phase. But if you're doing a tank and spank team, you do want to bring heroes of similar elements to take advantage of those buffs. It'll help a lot. But for the first phase in Hell mode, it's super easy. I'm just going to change it up just to show that it works with pretty much any hero. We'll just stick Rem in here. And let's do Champ Z just to show that he's not a warrior. He's a mage. And just to show that anything can work. And for the second team, in case you don't have that, most people will have F10A built, most people will have SSB built, and you can use something like, it really doesn't matter, DN or Tamarin. You can also use Politis. So the main thing here is bring a mage that can strip the ads automatically. So F10A is good, you can put the mages on Violin, Politis is great, but basically let's just get started right now. So phase 1 is brainless, we don't have to talk about it. Basically the boss takes a lot more damage from counterattacks, so you just sit here and do nothing until the phase is over. Just make sure you bring 3 heroes, or at least 2 heroes that can counter. ML Ken is perfect, he could basically solo the boss by himself. This is very easy, very brainless. So let's just move on to the next phase, but that's all you have to know about phase 1. Don't overthink it, just bring counter heroes, sit there, and the boss will die eventually. Alright, now let's talk about Phase 2. So, the main thing is don't bring Dizzy, because he has this little move that's going to screw you over if you bring Dizzy, as I learned the hard way. But overall, this phase is pretty easy. So there's one main thing you need to keep track of. These flying turds, if they both have a buff and they self-buff speed on their turns, what they're going to do is give the boss King's Vigor, which increases his crit chance and speed by 20%. Now, that doesn't seem that bad, right? So it's like, oh, why do we care about that? You care because if he has that buff, every time he attacks, he uses Exploding Flame as an extra attack, which is basically his ultimate move. So he's going to dispel all your buffs, burn you, and do a lot of damage. So basically, your main goal is to make sure that his King's Vigor never goes up. Other than that, he's very easy, right? So you can use pretty much every hero. Well, I don't know why my SSB skills are off. And you just auto it and tank and spank it. So basically, the core team makeup is some kind of mage that strips, a healer, and then any DPS. I've used Carrot, I've used SSB, you can probably use Luna, you can probably use anything, to be honest. But this is the easiest way. You can also use other comps like a one-shot comp and stuff, but I'm trying to give you guys a team where most people will have the heroes required. And I'm going to say the vast majority of you who have been, playing for longer than like 4 or 5 months probably have SSB and F10A built. But another very strong hero here, if you're struggling, is Politis. Politis is very good here because every time the little turds do their non-attack skills, she will AoE and preferably strip them. Oh, I forgot to mention that. Your mage should be on Violin. My F10A here is actually not on Violin, but if you're using Politis, it needs to be on Violin, otherwise you won't strip the flying turds. So other than that, very easy phase as long as you follow that basic formula. Mage, healer, DPS, make sure those little flying turds get stripped. Let's fast forward to the end of this. Alright, we're pretty much the end of this phase. You can see that my team is still pretty much at full HP. Like I said, it's very easy as long as you make sure that the buffs are consistently staying off to this Dazzled Magnar. The other thing is if he has more than 3 debuffs, he takes more damage. Just ignore that mechanic. It's too hard to keep more than 3 buffs on him at all times. And for the last piece, I strongly recommend you one-shot. This team works every time as long as Karen doesn't get resisted on the defense break. And it's much faster and consistent than the other routes. You can tank and spank him with like Luna and stuff, but I found that gets pretty scary compared to something like this where it's 100% other than defense break, I guess, and it's very, very fast and painless. So you could see on auto, he just gets absolutely obliterated. Karen and Sigrid are on standard Wyvern 13 one-shot gear. It's much easier. But if you can't build this team, then yeah, it ends up being a basic tank and spank. Just bring a healer, a DPS, and preferably something that can dual attack, and you should be okay. But I strongly recommend you just go the one-shot route. Now let's get into Epic Hell. Alright, now let's talk about Epic Hell difficulty and go over my team to beat that. It's significantly harder than Hell. I mean like 2 or 3 times harder than Hell because there's a lot of extra mechanics you have to care about. But the easiest way to do it is just build a fast team that ignores a lot of those special mechanics. So this team doesn't actually care about a lot of them, but we're going to discuss them anyway for players who can't build kind of a one-shot comp. But let's get started. Alright, so Phase 1. Phase 1 is really not that different from Hell mode. You just bring counter heroes and basically burn the boss down. So if you're not doing a one-shot comp like me, the main thing here that's important is you have to put a debuff on this turtle and hit it 4 times to get rid of the speed buff. If you do not hit the turtle 4 times while he is debuffed, this speed buff will carry over to the subsequent phases. But for us, we don't really care about that because we're going to one-shot him, so the speed doesn't really matter. But just keep in mind that if you do plan to use a slower comp and kind of tank and spank your way through Phase 2 and Phase 3, you better hit that turtle. Other than that, this is a really easy phase. You just use the same counter heroes like ML Celine, Rem, ML Ken. It doesn't matter what you use, and just burn the boss down as quickly as possible. So let's just fast forward to Phase 2, because there's really not that much to talk about for this phase. Just beat him down, or hit the turtle. That's basically the gist of it. Alright, let's move on to Phase 2. So again, this Phase 2 has two ways of dealing with it, the tank and spank way and the one-shot way. And people say the one-shot way is too gear-intensive, but I think the tank and spank way is much worse, because you have to deal with a lot of layers of RNG. So let's talk about the tank and spank way. The important thing is to keep buffs off of these flying turds so Dazzled Magnar doesn't get his buff that makes him basically one-shot you. And the other thing is you have to have two buffs up at all times and hit him 7 times to get rid of his counterattack buff. Now that is very irritating, and there's a lot of RNG because if you're using something like a Violent Politis, if you get 15%ed or whatever on the strip, you lose. And also, these little flying turds will constantly attack you and strip your buffs and stuff and steal buffs or something. It's very annoying. So it's a lot safer and consistent to just use a one-shot team. So here, this seems pretty simple. You don't have to use Opsig, you could use Rose or something. Basically, the idea is just get attack buff. I use Opsig because she has an attack imprint for the team. And basically your goal is just to one-shot the boss. And Strays and Watcher Shuri are perfect here because they have ignore defense, so you don't have to care about defense break. You can also use something like Flan and Sez and Sigrid or something. If you bring another DPS, then you do need defense break. The Watcher Shuri and Strays are perfect. You're going to see, instead of dealing with the headaches of RNG and strips and stuff, you just blast them out of Oblivion. It's a lot cleaner, a lot faster. I highly recommend this way. Alright, so Phase 3 again, I went the one-shot route. I actually can't help with a tank and spank route. I tried it once, I got obliterated, and I said, I'm just going to one-shot it with my Wyvern one-shot team, and it worked the very first try. So you just use Amelia. My Karen and Sigrid are both on Wyvern one-shot gear, and it's very easy. Just defense, break the boss. The burns are kind of annoying because it can potentially make you miss, but with one stack you have a pretty good chance to hit. Karen goes, get all these bleeds up. Then I push up Sigrid. Soul burn the S2 just to make sure he goes down. We get one burn on. And look, he's not going to survive this. Boom, we're going to have a lot of overkill here. Very, very easy. And that's epic held down. So you're going to notice Phase 2 and Phase 3 both took less than, what, like 20 seconds? Phase 1's the longest phase, but it was still really easy. And yeah, that's the easiest way to clear epic held difficulty in my opinion. The annoying part about it is you probably have to re-gear your Strays and Watcher Shuri to have really weird gear, to have very high attack and crit damage. Definitely not typical RTA PvP builds, but suck it up so you can get it over with. You only have to do this 5 times, and then you could go back to a much easier Hell Auto team. Alright, and we are done, boys. So we covered what to buy, we covered how to auto hell mode, we covered how to clear epic hell mode. There's really nothing more to say here. If you have any questions or comments, leave it in the comment section below. And please, share your teams. You guys have any other great teams? Like, this is how I tackled it, but I'm sure there's a lot of other ways to beat these bosses, and if you share it, it's going to help those guys who can't copy my heroes. Maybe they can copy yours, particularly for those of you who prefer to go the tank and spank route. I still think it's much better to just one-shot the boss because RNG drives me crazy, and that second phase, particularly on Epic Hell, where my Politis with like 150 effectiveness kept getting resisted by those little turds, drove me absolutely mad. But your mileage may vary. You may prefer the tank and spank route. Share your teams so that everyone can benefit. So anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this guide video. Thanks for watching. Best of luck. Until next time, peace out, boys.